It was a legal hit, and it's just Dart trying to get a little bit extra, and he has to protect himself.
He does, and he's walking very slowly, surrounded by medical staff. The word down from the New York Giants is that Dart is being evaluated for concussion.
But he was really slow getting up. He's trying to stiff arm, and you see the arm just get folded right back into his body.
Jaxson Dart gets hit like that weakly. He gets airlifted around the sideline, comes running right back in, takes another snap, and then goes to throw the ball. Jaxson Dart, we already saw the limitations of where he may be physically, which is a big part of evaluating the quarterback position.
You know, I didn't want to do this video at all, really. But now my hand has been forced, and I've been compelled to take action because I've seen way too many things that just piss me off in the media. So in order to do this, first I have to educate everybody here, just so you can see through all the cheap parlor tricks that they use for clicks and views. Henceforth, you see the definition of the word propaganda on your screen right now. So you're probably asking me, yo, what does propaganda in the media have to do with Jaxson Dart and all his concussions? First off, there's a 50-50 chance that if you click this video, you're a victim of propaganda.
Hey, LeBron, Ben Simmons is here. We're all good.
Not because you're like dumb or anything, not all of you, but because you've been brainwashed to believe a certain narrative. So I'm here to dispel that narrative. Now to be totally clear, I am a Giants fan. So I'm like obviously biased towards my favorite team. That being said, I also have functioning eyes and a fully formed brain. So when the product on the field doesn't align with the words I'm hearing on sports talk shows, my blood pressure goes up, like dramatically. So this is to say that currently the narrative that Jaxson Dart is an injury-prone crash dummy is media propaganda. I dug into the film, I watched the TV shows, I read the tweets, I saw the mock drafts. And I'm not gonna lie, I think it's a bunch of BS. So I'm gonna go into these like so-called 5 concussions that he had and just show what actually has happened. So yeah, if you've heard that Jaxson Dart has had 5 concussions this year, that's literally totally false. He's had 1 actual logged concussion and about 5 checks. And even so, like, these checks weren't even that serious. But you don't have to take my word for it. We can look at them together. So here we have the first concussion check that he had this year. Like I said, he didn't even have a concussion on this play, he just got checked. It's from the Chargers game, it's from his first start. Let's just take a look at the play and see what happens.
A pro history in his background, and that's helped him for this 2nd and 10. As he gets the block over there from Illuminor, now he's on the run himself. Another first down, a flag, a broken tackle, and he's on the move. Dart inside the 15.
So I'm gonna cut the tape right there. So I think at this point, most people would say, this is a regular football play. Doesn't look like anything that would need a concussion check. Let's keep it going.
Walk down on the play by Hart, and help from Henley.
So I think at this point is what kind of cooked him. This had to be what the spotters saw to want to pull him out the game, which is slightly understandable, but he clearly is just tired from running 40 yards. And at most, he has like a stinger from stiff arming the dude, but definitely not concussion check worthy. So even looking at it one last time, you can see here, I don't know, I don't think there's anything here that looks like he has a concussion. It was just a hard play, and sometimes football hurts, so I don't know. This first one, I'm not rolling. Alright, concussion number 2. Giants vs. Eagles week 6. Now this is probably the most famous one, and we're going to take a look at it. I'm going to talk about it again more later in the video, but right now we're just going to look and see what happens on the play. So it's 1st and 10 is the late 3rd quarter. So what's going to happen is he's going to try to escape from the pass rush, and then when he's escaping up the middle of the pocket, he's going to get popped. So he's escaping, boom. 48, I think, Johnson gives him a good hit. So I'm going to pause it for a second here and just ask you guys a quick question. Does that look like a play where Jaxson Dart put himself in danger, or was he escaping from danger? All I'm saying is, like, I don't think that this is exactly fits the narrative that he's a crash dummy. But let's take a look at the play. So I jumped ahead because you guys don't really need to see Russ warming up, but you see him get hit right there, and as he's going down, he catches a knee to the jaw. So that knee to the jaw, not gonna lie, automatic, you gotta get checked, buddy. Especially since after the play, he kind of grabs his head like I said earlier. So yeah, like I said, I'm totally fine with this. Totally fine. Make sure his bell's not totally rung. He heads back to the locker room, or to the tent I should say, gets checked out, comes back in the game. Now, I don't think that he has some other plays during this game where I'll probably show later, where he kind of like dives and whatnot and he's running. But I don't think it's anything where he's like putting himself at 100% risk. I will say though, this is the turning point in the season of the narrative starting that Jaxson Dart's a crash dummy. I'm going to explain how this works later. We're going to quickly go through the last 3 concussion checks. But just remember, this is the turning point. We're going to get back to that. So fast forward to week 10. There's been a whole lot of different discussions about Jaxson Dart's play style. And then we finally get to the Chicago game, where he has his one and only actual concussion. So if we look at the play here, it's 2nd and 6, and he takes a design run to the left. Now it looks like a good run at first, but then you see he loses the ball and kind of falls down. And if you look at him, he's like not even really moving. I'm gonna pause it right here for a second. And you see he's like covering up his head. Everybody's celebrating, and he just kind of just there, a little dejected and whatnot. So we can only assume that he probably got his head conked a little harder than he has before. So basically, what's weird about this play is he looks like he's concussed. He probably should leave the game. He should at least get checked. But if you look at the clock, you see 5:05 in the third. He actually comes back into the game after this play. So here you can see, loses the ball, and you see that double bounce of his head on the ground there. Look at his head right there. His head right there on the ground. That's concussion bait right there. So this should be like an easy, oh, he's leaving the game. He's out the game. We'll take one more look at it. I'm trying to show that. Okay, yeah, this is the one true time where I agree. Yeah, get him out of here. But does that actually happen? It does not. In fact, you can see here, the Bears actually had an entire offensive drive, kicked a field goal, and Jaxson Dart is back on the field calling plays like nothing happened. And this would be fine with everybody, but we didn't expect him to leave the game. But after he runs 2 plays or whatever, and then when the 4th quarter starts, we're just looking at Russell Wilson instead of Jaxson Dart on our screen. So at this point, it just kind of seems like them actually pulling him out or getting him checked is kind of a coin toss at this moment. So the decision is obviously arbitrary, considering they actually missed it, and the other 2 times he was fine. And researching this whole 5 concussion things, I just realized that the first one was actually in the preseason. So I'm just going to be playing in the background. I'm not even going to break it down really. Jaxson Dart scrambles, he gets hit, they check him, he leaves the game because it's preseason, it's not that serious. On to the next one. All right, for our last concussion, or our last concussion check, this was in week 15 against the Commanders, and truly this one makes no sense at all. All right, so here we go. We got 1st and goal. I'm going to let this one just rock out just so you can see how bad this check actually is. So what's going on in this play is that Dart's trying to run a fake pitch pop pass. He sees he's not there, and then he just immediately goes down and saves himself at the line of scrimmage. And this is a routine play on any given week. And you can see he's maybe a little shaken up. He's getting help up from his teammates. A little ginger, but he walks it off. Nothing crazy. But if you look over there, you can see the ref is pointing him out for whatever reason. But there's really no actual point for him to be getting taken out of this game. Now, please don't pay too much attention to Jonathan Vilma. I'm going to circle back to Jonathan Vilma. But if you look right here, he literally just goes down, and the 2 guys don't even touch him. He doesn't even hit his head, but yeah, that's the worst one right there. So right there, that's just a full-fledged yo, what are we doing right here? So I'm gonna hit the pause on this. So just to wrap up those 5 concussions, like I said, 1 of them was in preseason, 3 of them weren't actually concussions, and the 1 concussion, they actually missed the call on the field. So I show all that and I say all that to say this. A lot of these checks are overblown. A lot of this narrative and the same is overblown. And a lot of these checks are really just the result of Dart's helmets being too loose. So I'm not really too worried about this in the future. But all this that has happened all stems back to that play I mentioned before when Brian Dable went to check on Jaxson Dart in the 10. Earlier, I had mentioned that this concussion, or this concussion check in particular, was the turning point in this whole entire narrative. And this is because it was Thursday Night Football. All the bright lights were on the Giants versus Eagles. And low-key, the Giants were kicking ass. Brian Daboll, the now fired head coach of the Giants, bust into the injury tent seemingly to hurry the concussion protocol just to get him back on the field so Russ wouldn't have to take a snap. Now, due to like probably societal pressure and things like that, you know, under the guise of player safety, the NFL needed to make an example of the Giants by fining them and Brian Daboll for like this embarrassing stunt and just, you know, like lock it down on player safety. That's cool. I'm fine with that. However, this also led to these Jaxson Dart is a danger to himself narratives, because I think people took this a little more seriously than they should have and like decided to make a story out of it. And I think that this narrative really picked up steam for what I believe is two different reasons. The first one, Jaxson Dart is actually good but on a bad team, and people thought he was going to be trash. So they're trying to be right about their initial predictions, and they're harping on something that's actually just inconsequential. Ask yourselves this: why hasn't the conversation been, why is Jaxson Dart playing bad, until like maybe like this Vikings game? Why is Jaxson Dart playing well, or anything like that? It's because he's playing already at a pretty high-ish level, and you definitely can't say he's been playing bad. Generally, he's just been kind of like mid overall, if you want to say anything. So this he's hurting himself narrative is much more compelling to tell. And then the second reason is people picked up this compelling story and they hear what other media personalities say, and they run with it without having an actual like original and or critical opinion on it. Now with this, I can understand slightly, because hey, it's impossible to watch film and games and gain like an understanding on every single team. However, I still think before like saying something like blatantly false or that you don't know about, you should like at least like double check. This actually has come with like real world consequences that I've seen myself. Now typically I'm all for uninformed hot takes, because why not, right? Let's throw a wrench in the system. But all this changed when I was watching the Giants play the Commanders. And what I saw, because we watched it earlier, you know, didn't really bother me that much. But what I heard, that's what pissed me off. Jonathan Vilma. Now Jonathan Vilma, I don't know how long he's been commentating, but when he graced my ears that Sunday afternoon, I had to put the shit on mute. You would have thought from this clip that Jonathan Vilma's account, that the Giants like sent Dart into like World War II D-Day like trench slums or whatever it is.
Backfield Robinson in motion. It's Dart.
Why?
And he will not get there.
They're making it harder than it has to be.
Eddie Goldman slow to get up.
Eddie Goldman's slow to get up, but the officials are pointing at Jaxson Dart. That's who they're pointing at. And all the training staff are attending to him right now. So the officials saw something when Jaxson Dart landed, and it goes back to my first question: why?
And to add insult to injury, the ref sent Dart to the tent, and Jonathan Vilma got his jolly nut off to being vindicated his concern. That just makes me sick. I say this little anecdote is just a microcosm of the real world consequences to a largely like sensationalized media narrative. This man actually thinks that Dart has had 5 concussions. If that was true, Dart would be drinking pizza out of a tube. And even more concerned, this proves that the refs are looking for reasons to send this man out the game. So if the word around town is like, oh, they say Dart or crash out, watch out for him. He's gonna be a problem. Watch out for his head. Watch out for his safety. This is like media propaganda and misinformation that's leaking into the real world. And listen, man, I'm not gonna let you guys just out here being tricked and being dumb, bro. It's not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen. All I ask before you tell your boys, yeah, bro, Dart a dead a vegetable walking. Yeah, before you do that, please just look at the film. Look at it once, please. Because yeah, I just had to get that off my chest. But if you're still here, I appreciate it. If you're still here, you definitely should subscribe, because like, why are you still here right now? This was like a 16-minute video. Really go do something with yourself. I'm just kidding, y'all. Peace.